So for all the folks that have already joined, thank you for making time. This evening we have Beth Neale, who will be talking about a whole bunch of things, and I'll introduce her and the talk topics in a little bit. For those that don't know, my name is Morne Christo. I'm the Dan Southern Africa CEO, and I'll also be a host this evening. And our webinar sponsor this evening is the Sodwana Bay Lodge Scuba Center, and they've been kind enough to sponsor a whole bunch of great prizes, which I will showcase in a moment. There you can see there are two sets. The one is a T-shirt with a cap, and then the other is a rash vest with a mask strap, and they're two sets of each. So 4 lucky prize draw winners will be able to win those. So I encourage you to stick around right until the end of the webinar, when I'll sort of use some random name picking software and then just announce who the winners are. Just before I hand over to Sinead to sort of talk a little bit about the Scuba Center and what they do, where they're based and so forth, I've got a short little video clip that Beth has been kind enough to put together for this webinar this evening that showcases visually what Sodwana Bay or Scuba Center is all about. So let's see if I can get that to play.
All right, guys, so I've got you here on Pinnacle, part of 2 Mile Reef. Where I drop you on the same patch, I want you to go to the southern end of the patch. There's a nice little gully, and underneath is a cave. Get some white reef sharks inside there. Let's get fitted up and let's get going. Cool.
Sodwana has been waiting, and the sea is absolutely alive. We've been seeing in the last week that we've had chance of being on the sea. We've seen mantas, we've seen lots of turtles, we've had quite a few different sharks, and those sharks that we don't normally see. So lots of nice stuff, and the macro stuff is just off the charts at the moment. So the sea's alive, it's ready, it's waiting for you. We've just got such a great staff. They're all passionate about the sea, passionate about diving, and want to impart that knowledge. So come enjoy your time with them. We're here to look after you, look after your safety, as well as show you the great stuff. 2.5 months off the sea. It's the longest in the last 25 years that I haven't actually been on the sea or even put my feet in the sand. So this was just so exciting to be involved, to work with Beth and Miles and to see their passion for the ocean. And I think for all you guys at home, when you're ready to get into the ocean, that first dive is just absolutely mind-blowing. Lockdown has been tough for our entire community. We've got a very poor rural community around us, and a lot of the people are fully reliant on tourists. We're almost rebuilding from scratch, but we know that all of you want to come back and dive, and we're looking forward to welcoming you. Our whole community is just so excited to get everything going again.
Got some spinning dolphins with us. Woo!
So remember, Sodwana, our world, your discovery.
Fantastic. Wow, what a nice production there. I'm just going to stop sharing for a little bit and hand over to Sinead just to talk a little bit more about the Scuba Center, and tell us, a little bit more about what do you offer, where are you, and all those kind of things.
Thanks, Monet, for having us. So Scuba Center is a dive center that you can find in Sodwana, kind of the end of the road, a really, really fantastic place to dive. Scuba Center has been around for plus minus about 20 years, changed names a few times, but Scuba Center has stuck for the last couple of years. So we're a 5-star IDC center, which basically means that we run a lot of internship programs. We can kind of do a little bit of a mix of everything with the school side of stuff, as well as we have a charter side of the business that launches every day. Generally, the only day we don't launch in the year is the 1st of January. Otherwise, we launch every single day. And we're quite privileged. We every day, us that dive here and live here, we almost dive every single day. And, you find dive sites like Four Boy, which, is the open water site. And some people come back and say, oh, they don't want to dive there, it's boring. But, people that live here like us, every single time you dive on this reef, you find something new. You find a new little shrimp that wasn't there yesterday, or, you have the most bizarre things on dive sites that are 8 meters deep, and you've got a guitar shark that swims past. So the reef here is exceptionally lively. And then we're lucky enough, as well as we have 2 mile reef system, we're lucky enough to have a whole lot of other reefs. So you get 5 miles, 7 miles, 9 miles, so forth. The further the reef is, the less it's dived, generally. So when we're lucky enough to go nice and far, we really is a bargain, because we find life that we don't normally see, and we find that some of the bigger stuff settles there because it's a little bit less dived. So yeah, we're exceptionally lucky, and we train with this internship program. We take people from 0 to hero. And people that have never dived before, and it's beautiful to put them in the ocean, and you just see their eyes widen. It's all this cool stuff all of a sudden, and they get to learn how to dive here. And as much as Sodwana is beautiful, we also have days where it's challenging. The launch can be challenging, or the conditions can be challenging. And it just gives them a little bit of extra, oomph behind them to kind of leave with some really great experience, people experience as well as dive experience. We're exceptionally spoiled in South Africa to have such a great diving spot. Yeah.
So how can folks find out more about you? Have you got a website? Are you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those kind of, social media type things?
So you can kind of find us everywhere. Our tag is My Scuba Center. So it's the easiest way to find us. So our Instagram is My Scuba Center. Facebook is Sodwana Bay Lodge Scuba Center.
Okay.
And then we've got a beautiful, newly revamped website that we launched just in the new year. And basically on there, you can kind of book your courses online. So you can go on, choose the date, pay for your course, book the course, get the medicals, fill out the medicals before people come. And basically they just arrive, fill out the last little bit of paperwork with us, and off we go. They can start their theory at home already, so that there's less pool, less theory days, more in the water time.
All right. Well, fantastic. Okay. Well, for those folks, go look for them on the social media platforms. Maybe just quickly, what's the website, Shanae?
So the website is www.myscubacenter.co.za.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Towards the end, we'll speak to you again. We've got more people joining now. So for everybody that's just recently joined, thank you very much for joining the webinar. I know that your time's valuable, and it's great to have you on board. And I hope that you're going to find the webinar informative and enjoy what Beth is going to share. And I'll let you in on what we can expect in a moment. But I also hope that you guys are all doing well and that you're safe and healthy. I know that lockdown restrictions have eased up within South Africa and internationally, but we still need to be cautious and stay safe. So if you are a free diver or want to learn about freediving, you're in for a treat this evening. Beth Neale is going to take us on a freediving journey of a lifetime and dive into the work that she does with her company, Aqua Souls. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that now. Just a couple of basic webinar housekeeping rules. You'll find that as an attendee, you're muted and your video is turned off. That's just the Zoom webinar setting. If you'd like to just introduce yourself or tell us where you are in the world, please use the chat box at the bottom of your screen, depending on which device you're using. If you have any questions as Beth continues during the webinar, please use the Q&A box. You'll see it there to ask your questions. That just helps us track those questions and make sure that we don't lose any. It might get lost in that sort of general chat box thing. Now, the webinar replay will be available tomorrow for the folks that are on Zoom or via Facebook. But I'll also add it to the Dan Southern Africa YouTube channel and share that with all the Dan members and other folks around the world. So remember just to stick around for that lucky webinar draw, sponsored by the Scuba Center there in Sodwana Bay. And then also for the folks that have joined in via Facebook live stream, great to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're going to enjoy it as well. So here we go, Beth. I'm almost ready to hand over to you. Beth, believe it or not, for those folks that don't know, is originally from Johannesburg. Wow. Okay. So as far as I understood, one of my colleagues did an article on her recently, and she referred to her as the landlocked mermaid. Now, she's currently based along the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal, but the best part is that she's the 4-time South African champion freediver. Isn't that amazing? And she's going to talk about her freediving journey, the records that she broke, her ocean conservation work that she does with Aqua Souls. And with that said, Beth, I'd like to hand over to you, and I hope everybody's going to enjoy the webinar.
Oh, thank you so much, Monet. Thanks for having me. And it's great to be a DAN member, so I know that I'm safe when I'm diving.
Thank you very much.
And I think that's the thing. What's so amazing about freediving is that it's rapidly expanding and rapidly growing. And that's because people are realizing that it's not an extreme sport where you have to be able to hold your breath for a ridiculous amount of time and dive super deep. It's just about having an amazing experience underwater on one breath and feeling that incredible connection with nature. And freediving has given me that and has allowed me to have such an incredible journey in my life. It is my greatest passion, and it's also my greatest passion to share that passion with others. So I'm a master freediving instructor, very proudly with Pure Apnea. So Pure Apnea is an incredible organization. I'm very privileged to be friends with the founders and the owners of Pure Apnea. And yeah, it's incredible to see also how many people are kind of joining the freediving pod. And maybe some of you watching are going to join freediving. Let us know if you're interested in starting freediving, or maybe if you already are a freediver. And I just wanted to also say hello to all my amazing freediving friends who are watching, and my mom and dad too. So yeah, hi mom and dad. So yeah, it's great because I am a South African champion freediver. So I currently still have the South African no fins record for freediving, which means going down a line, an upper line on one breath, doing breaststroke basically. So it's seen as the purest form of freediving because you don't have anything helping you down and helping you up. And I broke that record in Bermuda, and was to raise funds for the organization that I help out with in Bermuda called Kids on the Reef. And we raised over $20,000 doing that record. So that was amazing. So I'm going to show you some of the video of that. It was really special, but I thought maybe before we get into the video, we can all just do a short breath hold together. So obviously, you know, if you're at home, if you're not operating heavy machinery or driving a vehicle, then you can join it. Make sure you're safe and that you're seated and that you're sitting down. So I think just get comfortable, sit up straight. Remember, if you're slouching, you're going to be squashing your lungs. So if you sit up straight, you don't have to squash your lungs. We're going to be breathing in and out of our mouth so that we can control our breath in and out more easily. And the best way to think of how you prepare to take a big breath is just imagine you've got a balloon in your belly. And when you breathe in, you blow up your balloon. And when you breathe out, you deflate your balloon. So your belly actually expands as you breathe in and gets smaller as you breathe out. And you just want to imagine yourself breathing like when you go to sleep. It should be effortless because remember, you just want to be as relaxed as possible. The more relaxed you are, the longer you can hold your breath for. So to take a big breath, the first thing you need to do is empty your lungs. So you do a big breath out. Once you feel like your lungs are empty, to fill your lungs, you first fill your belly, then your chest, and then your shoulders. So imagine your lungs like a triangle. You get most of the air into the bottom, a little bit more into the middle, and a tiny bit into the top. And once you hold your breath, you relax. Okay, remember, if you're tensing up, you're going to be using oxygen. So you just relax. And some quick tips to know. Obviously, you've got to join a course. So you get a lot more out of it. But quick tips is we all natural born freedivers. So every single one of you is born to be underwater holding your breath. Our body helps us to hold our breath. We have the same adaptations as dolphins and whales and seals. It's called the mammalian dive reflex. And the second tip is that urge to breathe that you feel. So when you're holding your breath and you feel that terrible urge to breathe, all that is a buildup of carbon dioxide, and you still actually have more than enough oxygen. So when you start to feel that uncomfortable feeling, keep holding. That's just the carbon dioxide building up because you're not exhaling, you are holding your breath. Okay, so we're going to see how it goes. You've got to believe in yourself. Freediving is very mental. So believe in yourself, know that you can do it. I believe in you. This is going to help us to be relaxed and calm and zen for the rest of the webinar. So we're going to do a few of those relaxing belly breaths I told you about. So belly breath in, slow out, slow in, slow out. One more slow breath in. Empty your lungs. Once you feel your lungs are empty, take your big breath, fill your belly, chest, shoulders, and hold. And as you hold, relax. Even close your eyes if you want to. Just feel that sensation. You can even roll your head from side to side to make sure you're not tensing in your neck. You can just move your shoulders slightly, stay completely relaxed, calm. You've got this. Remember, you're a natural born freediver. You're born to be holding your breath. You start to feel uncomfortable feelings. All that is carbon dioxide. Just a few more seconds and you can breathe again. And just sigh out. So the longest I've held my breath for is 6 minutes. And that's called static breath hold. The world record for women is over 9, or I think it's 9 minutes, and for men is 11.5 minutes, which is quite something. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. I'm going to share some of the Bermuda deep dive video, so you can see what it was like.
In the summer of 2019, I attempted to break the South African no-fins freediving record at a depth of 50 meters in the beautiful blue waters of Bermuda. I don't use very much equipment. A good wetsuit, but no fins or masks or any assistance up or down, just breaststroke. The scuba divers filming me down at 50 meters, on the other hand, were loaded with equipment to meet me at the bottom. Attempting such a record requires quite a team. I had over 20 people out at the dive site that day. No pressure.
Beth Neale, female, South African record holder, constant weight, no fins, 50 meters, Bermuda Blue deep dive. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Official top. 1, 2, 3.
After a few shallow warm-up dives, I dived down, just like I had done thousands of times in my mind. In the beginning, my body is super buoyant because of the air in my lungs and my wetsuit. I'm also wearing 1 kilogram weight to assist in my descent, which I'll have to swim back up with me too. After passing 20 meters, my lungs have compressed to the point where I begin to sink. This is the free fall. Gravity now pulls me down. It's the most amazing meditative experience. Now, if you watch closely, there's a wardrobe malfunction at 50 meters. The strap I used to hold the tag that proves my depth slipped right off my leg. My body was so compressed from the depth. But it's okay, I've tucked it into my wetsuit wrist. And there it goes. Lucky catch. Remember, I can't see much. Everything's a blur because I'm not wearing a mask. The way up is the most difficult, where I'm fighting my negative buoyancy all the way up to about 20 meters, where my safety freediver meets me. Just a few last strokes as I float to the surface. There's the rainbow from Daniela Day in the background.
White card. White card. Well done.
2 minutes and 52 seconds, including 17 seconds lost to the wardrobe malfunction. So there we go. I mean, the technical scuba divers were down at 50 meters and they could see the whole dive down and up, which is quite something. So yeah, that was really, really special. And to do free diving, you don't have to dive that deep. Although it is an incredible feeling. I thought I wasn't interested in diving deep until I became a peer apnea master instructor, and I actually did that dive in Sodwana. So I'm the deepest free diving female in South African waters because I set the 3 of the other records that I did in Sodwana Bay, which, you know, I'm extremely proud of. Because conditions can be quite challenging in Sodwana. I mean, a lot of the times it can be really, really beautiful. But yeah, there are currents and swell and bad visibility, thermoclines and things like that. Bermuda was really easy compared to some of the diving in Sodwana that I've done in the Sodwana Deep. Yeah. My goal one day is to free dive down and wave at a sealer camp and then come back up again, which I think would be really cool. But yeah, yes?
Beth, sorry to interrupt you there. I mean, we're getting so many awesome compliments for you, about you, your dive via Facebook. Lots of people are saying awesome, giving me little rainbow signs or emojis. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. And 1 or 2 folks also saying landlocked mermaids from Gauteng. And so we've got some folks from the States and various other places. And some folks are saying from the diving divas, we need more female divers in the sport. So hopefully this will go a long way to start promoting that. Anyways, yes. I'll stop interrupting. Over back to you.
No. And I agree. And that's the goal of, you know, what sharing this passion and with starting Aqua Souls, my company, is to get more people out there freediving. Freediving is such a transformative experience on so many levels. Physically, of course, because you're out there using your body, learning how to trust your body. You're out in nature, so you're having incredible experience in that way. You know, we all know the studies are how important it is to be out experiencing nature. And then mentally too, freediving ties in so well with the mindfulness movement. You learning how to breathe properly, learning what happens when you hold your breath, learning how to deal with your mind and get control over your mind. And I'm, you know, extremely privileged in that I've taught a lot of children freediving. So I'm one of the global leaders in children's freediving in the world. And I can see that transformation happening so quickly and so powerfully with children. Children who maybe have ADHD and are really kind of stressed out children. By the end of their freediving experience, they're calm and relaxed and know how to take a proper breath. Children who, you know, may be bullied. I've had children who have been bullied at school and then they're an amazing freediver and their confidence just soars. So freediving is really incredible on so many levels. And also when you're underwater freediving, I find that the marine life connects with you also so much more in such an incredible way, because you're not cumbered by all this gear making a loud noise with bubbles. You can swim right up to things, and I've had just the most magical experiences freediving. And the last, one of the most amazing, incredible experiences that I had was recently in Sodwana freediving. When I was freediving with SCUBA Center during lockdown, was with a manta ray. So we were very lucky to see a manta ray, and she swam with us. She actually slowed down and swam with us for about 10 minutes, and she flipped over and we were looking at each other eye to eye, and I felt such an incredible connection with her.
And then there's an amazing organization who are doing incredible work with manta conservation called the Marine Megafauna Foundation. And they said, submit her ID, because you can tell a manta ray, they kind of, their fingerprints is the spots on their bellies. So you can tell who they are by the spots on their bellies. And Anna from the Marine Megafauna Foundation said, you'll probably be lucky enough and you'll be able to adopt her and give her a nickname, because she was quite a small manta. So she probably has never been seen before. So I submitted the belly ID and she said, oh, she actually has been seen before. And it was by you 2 years ago. And I freedived with the same manta and had an incredible experience with her 2 years previously. And over that 2 years, she's lost her tail. So she's had her tail bitten off and some of her wings. So most probably it was from a shark attack. And so I decided to nickname her Bethany Hamilton, like the surfer, because even though she's been bitten by a shark, she's still out there flying beautifully, living her life to the fullest. So I mean, how incredible is that? How special is that? And what are the chances of that? And they're extremely curious and intelligent animals. So to have have that incredible experience and be able to go out into the ocean and do that, connect with dolphins, connect with sharks, whales, is just so special. So that's also my background is actually in filmmaking. So I was a wildlife filmmaker before I went full-time into ocean conservation. And now because of lockdown, I couldn't go back to Bermuda, where I spent 6 months of the year and teach. So kind of I've gone back to my filmmaking side of things, which has done really well, because people want to see what's happening underwater, and most people don't have that opportunity to go and see what's happening underwater. So yeah.
So Beth, obviously you started off landlocked, the freediving bug bit, and you just kept going. And the next thing you know, you're a South African champion. How does one get to that point where you become, that discipline to actually get to that level? Is it so much different than just sort of starting off, or is it one of those things that before you know it, that's where you're at?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think anyone will ever use the word discipline and my name in the same sentence. So I'm just very lucky that the ocean, being underwater, feels like home to me. It feels like where I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to be doing. And that's come quite naturally to me. Of course, there are things you do, training, practice. With freediving, it's very important that you increase your depths and your time slowly. So I've never had any issues with safety and blackouts and things like that, because I always, listen to what's happening in my body, and I'll never push my limits. Freediving isn't about pushing your limits. If you're pushing your limits, I think you're doing something wrong, and you should probably, not be diving as deep or holding your breath for as long. It should be a beautiful, happy experience. And I've always come up from a record dive or from a deep dive smiling, and I think that's how it has to be. So I'm very, very lucky in that I've found what my sort of true life's calling is, and that I can translate that into what I do for a living, and be able to share that with others too. So what motivates me in terms of diving deep is more about just having, it's like I said in the video, it is like a meditation. It's the most incredible experience to have. And even though with that record dive that I did, things went wrong, my strap fell off my leg, I almost lost the tag, and I can't see much because I just got my nose clip and no mask on. That didn't faze me at all. I was just in the zone and loving every second of it. It was amazing. So that's how it should be. And for me, it was a natural progression, and hopefully it will continue to be a natural progression. And I'd love to have more opportunities to dive deep and train for depth and see what I'm capable of. Because I'm lucky that what I've done so far, I haven't had to be very disciplined to do. So
here's a question. You break a record or you attempt those while you're going down the line. What goes through your mind?
Well, that's the thing. It's so amazing. Not much. If someone asks me to, sit on a mat and meditate, my mind's like going crazy. I can't meditate on land, but as soon as I put my face in water, it's like everything just goes away, my mind clears, I'm in the moment completely. So what's going in my mind, going on in my mind is just to focus on what I need to do. And then the most incredible thing happens in terms of buoyancy when you're free diving and diving deep is eventually you reach a place where you become negatively buoyant and you start to free fall. And then you literally do nothing and you get pulled down. It's like flying underwater. And at that point, I'm actually just enjoying the experience of free falling, but I'm also focusing on equalization. So that's kind of, I'm in the moment and focusing on equalizing my ears at that time. And then as you hit the bottom plate, you grab the tag, and that's where the hard work begins, because you free fall down, and then at 50 meters, it's quite a lot of work to get back up again. So that's when the hard work begins. And then again, you're just kind of in the moment, focusing on, every arm pull and every kick. And just to see that beautiful blue in front of you is just amazing. So, yeah.
So, Beth, you were saying that, you had the filming side of things, prior to all these things. Obviously, that took a little bit of a back step, but the combination of that experience with the diving and the adventures you've had sort of have, they've progressed now. But when did that connection come with conservation, helping communities and spreading that word? Was that after the the championship wins and things like that, that you had a platform to move it even further? Or was that always sort of part of what you were doing?
Yeah, so that was always part of it. And I would use the records as a way to fundraise, to be able to teach more people freediving and take children into the ocean. So they're very closely linked with the filmmaking side too. You can use film in such a powerful way, because if you can show people visually how beautiful the ocean is, then they'll be inspired to want to protect it. And it's the same as, taking people freediving for themselves. When they've had that experience themselves, they're more closely connected to the ocean, and they're more inspired to take care of the ocean. So you can use them both in such a powerful conservation way. And it's really incredible to have seen the effect of that. And just sharing things visually, I get messages from people all over the world saying, oh, I've decided now I'm going to overcome my fear and learn, go for swimming lessons, or, oh, I've decided to go snorkeling. And also the amazing response we get from people, when we are doing outreach programs, and how everybody helps out, like Adventure Mania in Sodwana as well. When I run ocean conservation programs, they help out, and Greg from SCUBA Center lets me use the pool to take the kids there, and it's amazing. You get that whole community experience, and I really feel that. So you see it so amazingly in Sodwana. There's a real sense of community there in terms of conservation. And I think, diving there now, this picture's from Sodwana. Isi Mangaliso are doing an incredible job at protecting the oceans. I mean, the oceans are alive, they're thriving. Wherever you look, you see something amazing. From the whales right down to the tiny macro things. There's just such a diversity of life and such an abundance of species. And it's so amazing to see them being able to thrive safely in a place. And I'm so proud as a South African that we have marine protected areas like that in place, and that people can come from all over the world to experience. And I think that was so important for me in terms of filming, and why we teamed up with SCUBA Center, is you need to show people virtually the experience of diving, so that they'll, come and support Sodwana and come visit Sodwana and come and dive in Sodwana, which is really amazing. It's also important that comes into the conservation side thing as well, because a lot of the community members in Sodwana have never had the opportunity themselves to experience the ocean. So people come from all over the world to see it. And a lot of people in Sodwana have never had that experience themselves. And that's why, it's so important to take them into the ocean and take them snorkeling.
Yeah. So Beth, I agree. I mean, that sort of video visuals are really great. And I think it also helps get the message out there and get more people engaged and supporting some of the projects and some of the communities. So based on the conservation work that you're doing is obviously informing some of these folks that come diving with you, or folks in certain communities about, you know, not just free diving, but how to look after the reef and fish life and so forth. So that's one question. And then I know that you also do quite a lot of work with children and things like that. Maybe 2 topics you can touch on for us before we maybe go into some questions that I can see coming through on the Q&A side.
Yeah, so I think giving people an immersive experience is the most incredible way that you can get them to love something. Yeah. So that's, you know, and there's no better place to do it than Sodwana. You know, it's perfect little rock pools and things for beginners to start off with. So perhaps I can show you, I've got a video of a lady called Fakila who can't swim. So she still can't swim. She's learning to swim. But this is what she managed to do. So I'm just going to get it up quickly while I talk to you. This was when we were last in Sodwana. Well, this is when we were in Sodwana before lockdown happened. And this was her second time free diving in the ocean. And can you see that?
Yes, there it's up.
So this is Fakila, and the bottom of the line is at 10 meters. So there you go.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, and how amazing is that? I mean, Fakila's grown up in Sodwana, and that was her, you know, she's never had the chance to be able to go out there, and now she has. And also Adventure Mania have taken her scuba diving as well, which is really, really cool. So it's so important from that side of things, from taking people, giving them the experience themselves, and then also showing them visually what it's like. So I'm just going to share the intro. We've got a very exciting Sodwana Bay episode coming up from lockdown freediving, which we did with Scuba Center. So I'm just going to show you the beginning of that. You'll have to tune in for the full episode. Okay. So here's the intro. Finally, after 3 months of lockdown, I'm home. Let's go see what's been happening down under. Hold on. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. It's not going to be that easy for me to get home. First, I have to get the hell out of Dodge. Oh, I got locked down in the city. So there we go. It was an amazing journey.
Where can we view the full video, or when is that going to be released?
Yeah, it's going to be launched on Sunday on YouTube, so I'll be sharing the link there. But it's our first full-length episode, which is really exciting. There's so much in there, from Bethany Hamilton, the manta rays, to when millions and billions of crabs hatched on the beach, helping the police. There's so many things. It's amazing. Yeah.
And Beth, is that going to be via your YouTube channel?
Yes, so One Breath Beth YouTube channel. It's very exciting to release that.
All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll also share that link in the replays and all that kind of stuff. So for the folks that didn't get that, it's One Breath Beth on YouTube. And I'll also share the link so that you can, tune in on Sunday and get the full episode. Looks good.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, so we went from that filming Sodwana to filming the sardine run on the South Coast, and we've got a full episode as that. Also helping Dr. Ryan Daly, the underwater doctor, helping him to tag sharks, and I was just immersed with like billions of sardines all around me, and it was really, really special. Also whales, the whales are migrating now. I've got incredible footage of them. So, and the raggies, like I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah. Okay. So, Beth, maybe just before we take the questions, Aqua Souls, what's that all about?
Yes. So Aqua Souls is about giving people their passport to a whole new world, and that is through freediving. So I'm back to running courses. I ran a course down the South Coast at Aliwal Shoal last weekend. I'm teaching courses again with adults and children. Of course, I love teaching children. I think it's so important for them to learn freediving, and it helps them on so many levels. So yeah, running courses, and then also just giving people the opportunity to have the transformational experience of freediving. And Aqua Souls is now also, of course, doing that visually as well. So, giving people their window to a whole new world through video content. So yeah, that's done very well on social media, especially my Instagram, One Breath Beth. People love seeing freediving content, which is great, and it just goes to show why the sport is growing so rapidly as well. And it's a sport. I wouldn't even call it a sport. I don't know what the word is. It's an adventure. So that's what freediving is.
Yeah, well, I like it because, you got the adventure. One needs to be fit. You need to eat healthy. So it's all the good things, isn't that so? And then, you have that wonderful experience where it's quiet and you can enjoy and engage with the marine life in a different way. Beth, I know that you also, are getting quite a couple of questions. Where all do you dive? So for the folks that maybe joined a little bit late, along the south coast of South Africa or KwaZulu-Natal, Unkomas, those kind of areas, Sodwana Bay, I think as far as Cape Town, Beth. But you also do quite a bit of international diving, and some of the records you broke were obviously in international waters. And as far as I know, earlier you said you spend about 6 months in Bermuda. So what do you do in that 6 months while you're there? Or are you just diving up early, and have you got some work that you do there as well?
So my work is diving, which is great. I'm teaching children. So for their spring and their autumn, I teach a program called Kids on the Reef with my amazing mermaid friend, Dr. Alex and Matt, and the Bermuda Zoological Society. So that's a 2-day program where school children come, and on the first day we take them snorkeling. I teach them all about freediving and how to hold their breath. We do yoga, stretching, breath holds, and then they go snorkeling, a lot of them for the first time, quite similar to our coastal community children. And then on the second day, they learn all about the corals and the fish they're going to see. They're doing more breath holds, and then we actually take them freediving, and they get a chance to go up and down the line, and they get to go see some of the beautiful coral reefs that exist in Bermuda. And then over the summer, I've developed freediving camps for kids. So it's a 5-day camp where children come and freedive for 5 days, and we go explore shipwrecks and coral reefs. And again, they learn all about breathing and how to hold their breath. We do yoga and stretching every day, and play fun games, and it's really amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what Bermuda's about. It's a bit trickier to take children freediving in South Africa. Sodwana is probably the best place to do it.
Yeah.
But Bermuda, a lot of the time, is like a giant swimming pool, so it's much easier, But I always tell those that I teach freediving who are learning in South African waters, if you can freedive here, you can freedive anywhere. So it's a great place to learn to freedive.
Yeah. Well, my wife learned to freedive with her father, who still spearfishes. He's in his 70s, and they've got the most amazing stories of ignobilis on pinnacles in Ponte, and rays and sharks and all those things. Yeah. So yeah, it's really nice to start from an early age. Now, I don't know if I can twist your arm. You've given us all these fantastic things that you do, but there's more, isn't there, in the form of, I don't know if it's expeditions or these projects that you and Miles take on. Is there any way we can maybe talk about those, or shall we rather leave that for another episode?
No, definitely. Of course, I can tell you, I mean, what I'm most excited about is our next adventure, which is traveling up the Mozambican coast.
Okay.
So yeah, that just, you know, through filming the amazing underwater world, you also help to promote conservation programs that are being run, marine protected areas, and then you also help to promote tourism, which is amazing, tourism to the area. So in Ponta de Oro, we're going to be filming the dolphins, and like you said, the Ignobilis, the giant trevally congregation that happens at Pinnacles, which is really special. And we're teaming up with Peace Parks, who are doing an amazing job at protecting the area there. And traveling up the coast to Zavora to freedive with manta rays, with the Marine Megafauna Foundation, up to Tofu, again to freedive with whale sharks with the Marine Megafauna Foundation, and then up to Bazaruto just to film all the amazing life that you get there. And obviously the ultimate dream, my ultimate bucket list #1 at the top of the list by far, is to see a dugong. So they're doing also a good job at protecting the dugongs there. And hopefully I'll get lucky, because they are the original mermaids. I feel like they're my spirit animal, you know, very chilled out, vegetarians hanging around, very cute looking. So hopefully I'll get to see a dugong.
So now with that sort of trip that you're planning, is there a way people can get involved or support you? And will you have a platform that people can almost sort of track your progress while you're on the trip? Or am I asking too many questions now, Beth?
No, definitely. It's going to be posted to social media. So again, the Aqua Souls website is under construction, but people can still go to www.aquasouls.com and leave their email address. And then once it's up and running, I can send through, you know, all the information. Once the website's active, we're working on that. But otherwise, just through social media, One Breath Beth, and then I'm on Facebook as well. YouTube, so that all those episodes are going to be on YouTube. And then we had a very exciting discussion today with a broadcaster about also televising the expedition. So you'll have to stay tuned for more, but hopefully you can also watch it on TV, because it is quite the expedition that we're going on.
Indeed, yes. Wow. So Beth, any more videos that you'd like to show, or can we jump into some of the questions?
Yeah, no, I've got so many. Don't ask me that more. There were so many videos, but let's jump into the questions.
Okay, so just before I miss this question, Cindy via Facebook is asking, have you ever had a difficult experience with blackout while freediving? That's my fear. And I think, you know, that's quite often people talk about that. From my experience, quite often you find the spear fishermen struggle with that kind of situation, but you know, how about your experience?
So yeah, thanks, Cindy. Great question. And I myself, I've never had any trouble with blacking out or even a loss of motor control. And that is because I keep things safe by staying within my limits. I never push my limits. And, you know, then I understand freediving so well, which is a very important part of doing a freediving course with an experienced instructor, because you'll learn, you know, all the things to make it completely safe to freedive. You'll learn about rescue, you're learning about what's happening in your body, you're learning how to breathe properly. You know, huge things like taking your snorkel out of your mouth when you go underwater. That's a huge safety thing that a lot of people don't know about. So that's why freedivers take their snorkel out their mouth. So a good thing to do is to do a course so that you understand these things. Again, make sure it's with a certified and experienced instructor that works for an organization with high standards of freediving and safety. And yeah, so that's very important. And that's why I'm so proudly a pure apnea instructor, because that's very important to pure apnea. Is safety and learning, you know, the correct knowledge and techniques and things like that to keep you safe when you freedive.
All right. Well, I hope that answers your question, Cindy. So via the Q&A on Zoom, we've got Danielle Wenzel. Question for Beth with a nice little whale emoji. Have you ever tried scuba diving? And if so, how would you compare the experience with freediving? Love the question. Yeah, that sort of mixing.
Yeah, amazing question. So yeah, I actually learned to scuba dive before as a freediver. So in 2000, wow, I had my first scuba diving experience in Ponta de Oro. And that changed my life completely. So, you know, freediving wasn't really a thing then. So I learned to scuba dive. I would always naturally free dive and just, you know, not know that I was doing that. Just try dive down and hold my breath. But scuba diving was the first time that I saw, you know, a coral reef in all its spectacular glory, and I fell completely in love with it. And I love scuba diving for the fact that you can be able to spend time underwater looking at all the macro things, all the small things, you know, and you can sit like getting lost in one piece of coral for the whole dive. You know, that's how incredible it is. But since free diving, I actually haven't scuba dived because I much prefer free diving. I feel free when I free dive.
Yeah.
I have much better interactions with animals, but I have done a few, probably less than 5 since I started free diving. I've probably only done about 5 scuba dives. But I'd love to scuba dive again, like I said, you know, to go look at all the harlequin shrimp and the frog fish and all the small things that you don't really get to see while you're free diving. So I am a scuba diver. I think scuba diving is amazing, but I'm definitely more of a free diver now than a scuba diver.
All right. So Sean French, all the way from Iraq, if he's still there. And Sean asks, have you ever experienced the SUMBA, in sort of brackets SWBO? So I'm assuming you...
Okay, so yeah, it means a loss of motor control. So when you get hypoxic or low on oxygen, you can experience uncontrollable muscle twitches, which is also called a SUMBA because it's kind of like a dance.
Yeah.
And if he's asking about a shallow water blackout. So no, I've never experienced that, and I've never come close to experiencing that. The times that I've seen people experiencing that, they weren't my students. I was just lucky in the water that I was in the water with. Happened on 2 different occasions with spear fishermen. And they had blackouts, and they're just lucky that I was in the water and I could rescue them. So that's why it's always so important to never free dive alone. And again, like I said, just know what you're doing in terms of free diving and do a course so that you understand the things happening. But I hope to never have a loss of motor control or a blackout, as I say, because that'll mean that I'm pushing my limits then. And, you know, that's not what free diving is about to me.
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Carl van der Kolf down Cape Town side. Welcome, Carl. Nice to have you on board again. He'd like to know, is there a difference when you're doing sort of deeper free diving in cold water as opposed to, say, warmer water? And he's referring to, say, the colder water down in Cape Town. So I assume he's asking, is there sort of an effect on you as a diver to dive deeper, longer, and so forth?
Yeah, so colder water can actually often help. I remember at the beginning I mentioned the mammalian dive reflex. So colder water can often help you to hold your breath longer. But, you know, and as the freeze divers of Cape Town are discovering, there are many other health benefits to diving in cold water. But in terms of free diving, once you start shivering, then it's kind of game over, because then it's very hard to be relaxed and hold your breath. So there's a fine balance. So if you can be in cold water and use it to your advantage, then that's good. I am definitely a tropical mermaid, and I much prefer warm water. But it's interesting as well, when you're so relaxed with free diving, your heart rate slows, your body temperature drops. So even, you know, I was free diving in Sodwana in 25 degrees water. After 2 hours, you start to get really cold and really, you know, start to shiver. And then, as I say, once you're shivering, then you can't hold your breath very well because you're very tense and your muscles naturally tense up. So yeah, but I think there are benefits to doing cold water free diving. And I think if Carl's from Cape Town, that he can join the freeze diving community if that's what he's into. I'm a bit of a wimp. I'll have to kind of pluck up the courage to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, I prefer tropical water. But the kelp forests are spectacularly beautiful. So, you know, it is worth kind of either putting on a thick wetsuit or learning from the freeze divers how to stay in there for long enough to have a few dives down.
Yeah. All right. Well, Carl, I hope that answers your question. If any of the attendees, be that via Zoom or Facebook, have more questions, please pop them in. I think now is a nice break just to enter those names into the software that I have so we can see who the lucky draw winners are. So Beth, do you mind if I just quickly copy and paste that into the software that I have?
Yeah, you do that.
And click the button. Let's see. Oh, anticipation
exciting.
building. Amazing
Who's
stuff.
gonna win?
All the way from Scuba Center in Sodwana Bay. Great stuff to wear. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to hit the button. All right, I've got 4 names. The lucky draw winners this evening is Gunter Dervin, Betsy Wall, Sunette LaRue, and Jess Townsend. So I'll be in touch with you folks tomorrow and also put you in touch with Shanae and Greg and them from the Scuba Center so we can get your prizes to you. Well done. I hope you're going to enjoy them, and I hope you will spread the word that Sodwana Bay Scuba Center is a great spot to dive with. And if you haven't dived with them, please support them. They've got a great outfit. And as you've heard from Beth, it is one of her favorite spots to dive around the world. And obviously she's been around. So yeah, make sure you go visit them. Beth, anything from your side? I can't see any additional questions coming in. Oops, let me just do that.
Yeah, so just thanks to everyone for joining. And if anyone's got any further questions, then please just send them to me. You don't have to do it through the web, and I'm happy to help and give you advice. If you have any more questions, would like any more information. I love talking about freediving, so this webinar could carry on for 10 hours and I would be happy. But don't worry. But also, if you check out Instagram or Facebook, you'll see a lot more of the footage that we've been filming recently. Okay. And yeah, the adventures are only just beginning, which is really exciting. So
before I hand over to Shanae and we can sort of slowly start winding down, we got Christelle Burtis via Facebook. So she's asking, do you ever suffer from motion sickness, and have you got some of your own remedies? So I love that question came in, because it's one that we get quite often, not necessarily via the hotline, but via the email sort of hotline system. And there's some nice information I'll share, which I'll add into the links. But Beth, I'll allow you to maybe add some of your experiences, or are you just one of those lucky folks that...
No, I'm not. It's terrible. I get so seasick.
Okay.
It's terrible. People are like, what? You get seasick? And I like to say, well, it's because I'm not meant to be at the surface bobbing around in the swell. Okay. As a mermaid, I'm meant to be underwater, and then it's fine. So it's terrible. It took me years to figure out what worked for me. In Bermuda, though, interestingly, I've never been seasick. And that's because, our waters, the swell is quite something. So I used to get, like mermaid down seasick, but I'd still kind of carry on diving as much as I could. And I found what works for me is Valoid. So I have to take 1 Valoid tablet an hour before I dive, but I know it's different for everybody. And I've tried the bracelets, and I've done ginger, and I've done the stickers, the patches behind my ears, and Studeron and all that sort of stuff. It can be debilitating, seasickness. So unfortunately, it actually is just trial and error. I would highly recommend going to Alawal Shoal if you want to kind of figure out what works for you, because a lot of the time there's big enough swell that if you're going to get seasick, that's where it's going to happen. But yeah, it's not a nice thing. It's not in your mind. I can reassure you, if anyone tells you that, they don't know what they're talking about. It's a real thing that happens. And yeah, you just have to keep figuring out what works for you.
So as far as I know, there are a couple of different levels of motion sickness, and there isn't really a cure. There are some remedies that one can apply, and they don't necessarily stick or work for everybody. But just a story I'd like to share about motion sickness. I might laugh about it now, but I felt terrible and sorry for the lady that was on my boat when I used to still work and operate in Mozambique. And she, also had the ginger sweets and all that. But she was also very nervous, was quite a new diver, and she just sort of swallowed one after the other. And it was in the form of those Turkish Delight ones. So I said to her, you need to calm down, because there might be, more than just the motion sickness that will come into play. So needless to say, it eventually, you know, got to the point and she didn't feel all that great. And I think it was more just too many sweets that sort of led to her vomiting eventually. Yeah, she, you know, once you're in that state, it's quite difficult to get out until you get back to land. So, yeah. Anyways, most people, Beth, saying great talk, very inspirational. Wow, so much information. Can't wait to go diving in Sodwana. So, Shanae, I hope you guys are ready to accept the folks in. I'd hand over to you now and just some parting words, any sort of Sodwana Bay information like to pass, or just, I guess, you know, we're in October now, or just about. The next 2 months are going to fly by, and then it's December, you know. So I'm sure a lot of folks are looking forward to a nice December break. Anything you can add to that, Shanae?
Yeah, you know, so we're definitely spoiled here in December, where we're looking at 28 degrees water, you know, 30 meters plus fizz. So if you're definitely looking at coming on holiday, between now and December is definitely a great time. Our viz is going to start clearing up. You know, you're going to have the raggies start coming onto the reef soon, which is really cool. You know, the females that come gestate in that quarter-mile reef system. Yeah, so, you know, we're definitely going into a really great part of our diving year now. You know, we're all excited for some water, for some warmer water. You know, we start shedding the wetsuits and start diving with just the rash vest. So yeah, we're excited for the end of this year. You know, excited to be back in the water, excited to be, you know, busy again, doing something.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I'm sure everybody's looking forward to it. Just based on the comments, I can see they're all keen to come visit, get back in the water. And they say, we'll see you underwater, not on top. So that sounds great. Beth, something from your side to end off before I wrap it up?
Yeah, just, you know, it's so incredible to have such epic places to freedive in South Africa. And just so special that the freediving pod is growing so rapidly. You know, and I'm very proud to kind of be a part of helping to share the underwater love with everybody. And I look forward to seeing more people underwater. And yeah, thanks Morne for having this so that we can share some of these stories. And a huge thanks as well to SCUBA Center for hosting me when I was in Sodwana. They really are experts in terms of knowing exactly where to take you for freediving. Which is amazing. We saw so many incredible things, and it was great. Amazing team, very professional. You know, especially during these difficult times of lockdown and new policies and procedures, I felt so safe the entire time, which was great. So
fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well, from my side, I'd like to say, Beth, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're crazy busy. You've got loads of things on your plate. And for making the time in that busy schedule to hop on a Dan webinar and sort of share your passion, that's great. It's amazing. And thank you so much. And if you're willing, I'd like to just gently bend your mermaid fin and hopefully have you on a webinar in the future again.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, well, great. Shanae and Greg and all the folks from the SCUBA Center in Sodwana Bay. As always, it's fantastic engaging with you guys, and it was really great to have you sponsor this this webinar. So yeah, I look forward to coming to see you guys again soon. I know that one of my colleagues, Nikki, is down there, and I'm sure she'll come visit you guys in the next couple of days. So just from my side, thank you. And then, yeah, let's not forget about all the folks that hopped on this evening via Facebook, as well as the Zoom link. It's great to have you on board. By the sort of just comments, it looks like you really enjoyed it. So it's always great to have you on board. And I hope to see you folks on sort of join future Dan webinars. I've got one with Dr. Cronea again later on in this month. Can't remember exactly the topic, but you know, via all the communications I send out, I'll keep you guys posted. And in November, I've got another nice talk lined up with Dr. Maroney from, he's the president, CEO of Dan Europe, and he's going to be talking about the research studies they've recently redone again on deep stop. So for the guys that like technical diving and topics like that, Make sure to tune in when we have that going. And just remember, the webinar replay will be available via Facebook, obviously, but it'll also be available via the Dan Southern Africa YouTube channel. So keep a lookout for that. And yeah, just a couple of things. As always, I like to add a couple of freebies from Dan, and the replay link will have some of the freebie links in, as well as the email. So I know people are starting to travel again. So Dan's got this nice smart guide to travel, which I'll add the link in, along with all the Dan Safety magazines, Alert Diver. So you can get the latest one, plus some of the back issues. We've also got some great content, usually every year. Sometimes we skip a year or two. We release annual diving reports. They are international ones from all the different Dan offices. So you've got the current ones as well as the back issues. So you can download those. And you'll also have a link to the Dan Dive Safety Portal, which has got about 8 to 9 hours worth of lecture content in there if you're keen. Anything from a 5-minute to a 45-minute lecture. So yeah, keep a lookout. And for those folks that are Dan members, thank you for your support. It's always great to have you on board. If you're not a Dan member yet, please join. And the way you can do that is via our website, is www.dansa.org. From my side, Beth, thank you. Greg, Shanae, SCUBA.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for everybody joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
That's it. Thank you. Toodles. Bye.
Alright guys, so I've got you here on Pinnacle, part of 2 Mile Reef. Where I drop you on the same patch, I want you to go to the southern end of the patch. There's a nice little gully, and underneath is a cave. Get some white tip reef sharks inside there. Let's get set it up and let's get going. Cool.
Sodwana has been waiting, and the sea is absolutely alive. We've been seeing in the last week that we've had chance of being on the sea. We've seen mantas, we've seen lots of turtles, we've had quite a few different sharks, nurse sharks that we don't normally see. So lots of nice stuff, and the macro stuff is just off the charts at the moment. So the sea's alive, it's ready, it's waiting for you. We've just got such a great staff. They're all passionate about the sea, passionate about diving, and want to impart that knowledge. So come enjoy your time with them. We're here to look after you, look after your safety, as well as show you the great stuff. 2.5 months off the sea. It's the longest in the last 25 years that I haven't actually been on the sea or even put my feet in the sand. So this was just so exciting to be involved, to work with Beth and Miles and to see their passion for the ocean. And I think for all you guys at home, when you're ready to get into the ocean, that first dive is just absolutely mind-blowing. Lockdown has been tough for our entire community. We've got a very poor rural community around us, and a lot of the people are fully reliant on tourists. We're almost rebuilding from scratch, but we know that all of you want to come back and dive, and we're looking forward to welcoming you. Our whole community is just so excited to get everything going again.
We've got some spinning dolphins with us. Woo-hoo!
But remember, Sodwana, our world, your discovery.